when it comes to the enemies of spiritual integrity, you being a man of integrity, character, and truth, there are very real forces that are aligned against you becoming that man. And the first enemy is my world. That's your first fill-in. My world. Now, that sounds kind of vague, but the Bible's not vague about how the world is aligned against you. Let's read 1 John 2:15 together. Don't love the world's ways. Don't love the world's goods. So God's word says, you know what? It's like a bazaar out there. It's like a marketplace. I mean, it's just like going to Fashion Island and going to that grocery store they have down there where you can buy the most exotic vegetables from every stretch of the earth. Well, God puts it in the context of, there are ways to be. And the world will tell you there's one way to be. And God says, you know what? Don't love what the world is selling. What's the world selling? Well, this weekend, turn on a football game, watch a commercial. What do you see in the commercials? Well, they're calling out to you to indulge, Be pleasure man. Put your feelings first, everything else second, faith included, okay? Turn on the commercial, what do you see? Impress, drive this car, live in this area, have this, you deserve it, you work hard, impress people, image, status, image over substance, okay? You turn on the commercial, what do you see? You see, the message of increase, materialism. Just, you got to have this and you got to have that, and you definitely got to have that Corvette right there. That thing is, woof, But, all of those things are identities. One is hedonism, and if you give into that whole philosophy, you become a hedonist. You become pleasure man, okay? The other philosophy is materialism, and if you give into that philosophy, you become possession man. And the other one is narcissism, and if you give into that identity, that's power man, titles, image, status, social position, okay? And none of those identities help you relate better to God and to people. Because it's an oxymoron to be a relational narcissist, because it's all about, that's right. And it's hard to be a relational materialist because you value things over people. It's hard to be a relational hedonist because feelings, you use people for the feelings that they give you. So that's what the Bible means. It doesn't mean you have to dissociate from making money, having a good time, or getting promoted. It's saying, as a way to be, no, that's not your identity, especially if you're God's man. Let's read James 1:27 together. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. See, it's this whole picture of pollution. I mean, you guys know how that is. Pollution seeps into the groundwater, kind of infects the groundwater. People drink it, and then, 10, 15 years later, they get tumors and develop lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's disease and cancer. What God is saying is that those values of the world that I just outlined, that's spiritual anthrax for God's man. In that if you try to be God's man and be those other people, whether it's a hedonist, a narcissist, or materialist, the two cannot be integrated. In fact, this isn't on your outline, but in John 15, Jesus would say to his guys, he'd gather them in just like this, and he'd go, guys, if you belong to the world, I would have told you so, but as it is, I have chosen you out of the world, and that is why, big statement, the world hates you. You see, God's man doesn't give himself fully to these other identities, and telling his guys, the two can't integrate. But you know what? That pollution process, very subtle. Very subtle. I live in Orange County too. We're probably one of the most affluent counties in the world. I remember moving to Rancho Santa Margarita in 1989. I was just a low-level marketing assistant, and I just saw these people driving around, and I just went, oh my goodness. And I saw a home. It was $200,000. And me and Chrissy lived in this 2-bedroom apartment, and Chrissy's going, we're going to have apartment complex kids. And so I'm the man, and I see, all these people driving Mercedes and Beamers and driving Suburbans and having their happy family and 2 dogs, and I'm going, oh my goodness. Well, like a lot of young guys, I don't have a lot of money, but I've got plastic, right? So I want the image. And I promptly drive my family into a lot of debt that I got to dig myself out of later. And I thought, what a waste of time. And I look back at that and I go, man, it was subtle. It was just, there's the Joneses, there's the Lucks. And you know what? It's discontentment and trying to keep up with them. And it's subtle and insidious, but it happens. And Jesus says to us, you know what? The faith journey that is pure and flawless is don't get intoxicated with that stuff.